what happened is there's a guy in Germany who is the one I just putting for my record so that when I research. Um, so every 11th day of lunar cycle, I will do um, liquid diet because what happens is what we eat today we metabolize in 72 hours. So technically, like sports people, that's what they like. This is the book I wrote called Meridians, and I'm going to actually one by one because I find it very difficult to teach people because it took me 16 years to write this book.
Oh crap!
And it's all like my Western medicine, Eastern medicine.
Yeah.
Like I came across a group. The way I even got involved with this, like, again and again digressing, is I went for an introductory program with one of my friends. So, I mean, she became my friend that day. So she was explaining to me what it was. And the way I think of myself is I work with speech consciousness. So knowledge is never hidden from me. Like so when somebody says something, I immediately get it. I know that's what I need to do. And it's because I already have half of that.
Okay.
So it's like almost like I need to fit in the puzzles. So I immediately I knew, yes, 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 this is what I need to pursue. But the interesting part is it was in India, it was developed, but the people I learned from is from Japan. Isn't that weird?
Nice.
Because the Japanese developed it further and they're teaching it and it's lost in India. So I felt like my purpose is to bring it back. That's why God gave me the wisdom of Eastern medicine, Western medicine. And I actually, when I wrote this, I dedicated it. I said, I feel my life is fulfilled by publishing this book. This book I published, when was it? 2000, actually 2006 I published. That's because when tsunami happened 2004,
Yeah.
2005, I felt I had gathered material till then, from 1993. So I felt like if I didn't release it, it's going to be lost. So this book was not complete then. I could see a lot of errors, but I said, I mean, you could even see a breakdown of pages, it was like not even in order, everything was like random. But I said my goal is to get it out, put it on the internet. And I actually used to do a blog called GeoCities. Have you heard of them?
No.
It used to be owned by Tripod.
Okay.
Lyco's search engine used to be there, and Yahoo bought it.
Really?
So they deleted every blog except for mine. They kept it alive, and I cannot go edit it because it's already there.
Huh.
They could recognize how important it was, and they didn't delete mine.
That's cool.
Which was very interesting. So actually, Jinshinjutsu, when I was learning, it was a 5-day program they'll teach, and they will give so much information. It was hard to keep up. So the first one, I took little notes. I couldn't keep up. Second one, I couldn't keep up. Third one, because they say you need to do 3 courses to become their practitioner. So the third course, verbatim, word by word, I recollected uh, what they said and plus what I understood, and I put it together. And that's how the book came. And then I had to go back to acupuncture because I did acupuncture training in California.
Yeah.
American Pain Research Institute, and that I put it together, medical knowledge, and all fell into place. So the reason I'm bringing it up is what happened is I was watching Harold Kurtz. He's from Germany, and he's saying that Adam and I didn't share this with you.
I think you did.
Adam, it seems, was married before. I didn't even know this. And he had a wife called Lalita, and I was reading it today. And that is the most fascinating part I found, and I'm going to read it out, okay? So here it says, there were the one time, so I'm going to read this. This is for tomorrow, okay? 11th, and through this I learned, like on the 11th day of lunar cycle, if you do not, I mean, not about 11th day. what it is one saint in India. He said the mind center goes up and down. And he says on the 11th day it comes home, whether it's to the heart center or brain center, depends on when it is the full moon or new moon. New moon, the mind center comes into the heart. The full moon, it goes. So this is the influence of sun and moon. So he says the mind turns up and down, and he says if it is not in control, mind spins out of control. So like how people say, I'm going to lose it, right?
Yeah.
And it would happen if you're not. And that's what schizophrenia is. Schizophrenia is literally mind is spinning out of control, and they haven't anchored it. And my teacher says the way to anchor it is dreadlocks. People who have issues not able to anchor that mind being split, they need to have dreadlocks.
Okay.
So he is giving it in another way. So like I'm like, it's like I'm in the puzzle, like I can see where it fits. So Harold was saying in his video that Adam was married. He was so disappointed for some reason with his wife, and he sends her away. And it almost looks like he was lured into some sort of a computer programming game. And Eve is like some sort of is a figure that fits all his fantasy, almost like catfish.
Okay.
That's the way I saw it. So the catfish captures him, and he's having a relationship with this person, with this Eve, who lures him into taking the forbidden apple, right? And forbidding only one plant in the whole forest creates the temptation in the first place. If nobody has said nobody has said anything about it, that plant wouldn't even be found, right? So there is something. So I am the reason I'm saying about the 11th day is because that's when you need to observe what you're eating, so you're not influenced by moon on, because with a full moon or new moon, tides are affected, and we are 70% body water. So it kind of makes sense that we are affected by these mood swings, right? So tomorrow, the Ekadashi, each one the ancient beings understood how it affects the mind. It's fascinating, how much knowledge is out there. So it says one time in the court of King Pundarika, many Gandharvas are engaged in blissful frivolity. Gandharvas are people who, I forgot like how I need to connect, but like they live in some sort of space that doesn't have human form, but they can engage emotionally. Like I need to like really drill down the meaning. I'll tell you next time. And they were singing and dancing with great bliss. Lalit is the husband, who is Adam, okay? Because they used the same. His name was Lalit, with the A in the end is his wife, Tha. Lalit, okay. Lalita. Lalit sang with maybe it's because they use music, like how DJ Gandharvas use music to get into that bliss space. That's their traditional way of connecting.
Yeah.
So Lalit sang with Gandharvas, although his wife did not. Rather, she danced. Instead of singing, she dances in great ecstasy with many joyous apsaras. These are fairies. Due to pangs of separation, Lalit was experiencing separation from his devoted wife. He felt intense hankering and dove into ocean of tears. His enunciation during his singing grew weaker, and he forgot the words to many songs that he knew off by heart. And there was one serpent in Patala. Patala means like people who are very gravitational, like gravid, they get depressed, right? So their energy goes down. So his energy went down, and it goes to the bottom of the earth. So it's like very interesting how they write, okay? So if you put two and together. So one serpent from Patala region, he went by the name Kartotaka, knew well the mystery of the situation. So he could manipulate this guy because he knew he was a catfish.
Yeah.
Serpent was a catfish, right? He complained in greatly thunderous voice, "Oh Lalit, you have spoiled the performance here by your attachment to your wife. You have upset the rhythm of the piece and distracted the singers. So I must curse you to be a man-eater cannibal. So that's so funny. Being thus cursed by serpentine character, which actually is what? He is just cursed. Even though serpentine says this, it's actually a catfish. So if you understand like the other piece, you would see this this like like synchronous nature of one story versus another, right?
Yeah.
So let's assume Eve versus creation. Eve tempted him to eat the apple. Like let's assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lalit immediately transformed into a great demon and could see the fearsome fire in his eyes. When Lalita saw her husband's terrifying form, she was extremely hurt and distressed. In intense pain and distress, she spent days and nights simply thinking where to go, what to do, who to see. However, her fears, she felt no understanding of where she was doing, and who she was seeing. She was simply lost in an ocean of separation. Surrendering all embarrassment, she lived with her husband in the forest. But whereas Harold says it in another way, he says Adam sends away Lalita to the forest and he has a relationship with Eve. That's his version. Okay? So, and he says it's in Kabbalah. This story is in Kabbalah. That's how he's coming up with this story. Okay? Being thus cursed by the serpentine character, Lalit immediately, so Lalita replied, "Oh, great soul, I am the daughter of the great, kind-hearted Gandharva named Viradanva. My name is Lalita. I live in the forest with my husband. He has been cursed by a ferocious serpent, is now a demon." So I assume, let's read that story. So he had a relationship with catfish, which didn't pan out. So now he is banished. So he's going back with his wife, and wife doesn't have the same husband she used to. He's like very ferocious. Like essentially, he's cheating on her, right?
Yeah,
He's cheating on her, and he's not loving and kind. And I mean, I could see read between the lines, right? So she is asking to the a great soul, she calls. So and she says he has been cursed by a ferocious serpent, now a demon. Oh, I'm indebted to you for your kind darshan and rescuing my husband, but please, you must surely have the ability to help. If there is some way this will remove the horrendous affliction, please tell me. That's what she says to the whoever is the great soul, she's reaching out.
Yep.
So after hearing Lalita's pathetic request, the sage, there is a sage she encounters, it looks like a sage meaning, learned guy. His name is Shringi. He says, "Oh daughter of Gandharva, in few days' time, during the waxing moon of Chaitra month." Chaitra is, I think it falls between March and April, like Easter, it's a Lent month.
Yeah.
Okay, Chaitra month. So it's a waxing moon. Waxing moon is like the moon that's going to go down, so which means it's going to be a full moon, right? Then it will be going down. So we are coming across the full moon. Because after the moon, it will be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there is a day Ekadashi, 11th day, known as Kamada. By observance of this day, one's sinful reaction can be completely annihilated. By following this vow, entire marriage to a husband, and one's desires will be fulfilled. Then, by the influence of this, your husband will become freed from the curse. Essentially, he's saying by her showing that she is doing all the things she needs to stay engaged in that relationship and being loving, the curse is going to be lifted. So when she observes it tomorrow, which is the day for us, which in India is today, the full moon, when it comes, we will be in a place to be very loving and nurturing, even if the other person is not the same way towards us. So then by this instruction, Lalita observes this. So then she sits in front of Lord, announces that as you recommended, I abstain from food and water and offer results to whatever I gain out of that, I'll offer it to my husband. And as soon as Lalita finished her prayer, her husband, demon, became freed from reactions and regained his original form. So, what it is, I understood, is the reason they are doing that is to show the difference between lust and love. Lust is having a relationship that is conditional, versus love is unconditional. So, husband had a conditional love for her, and that's why he was like very controlling and stuff.
Yeah.
And by her doing whatever he wanted, and even in spite of she being on the right, even that whatever negativity to taking upon herself to remedy, she could show him the divine love. And by that, he was turned back.
Okay.
So it's like almost like he went and visited the catfish, and in reality, it ended up being something manipulative. And so he feels ashamed, so he's making up. So if you
Yeah.
look at the show, you kind of like, yeah, like put it back. And I was thinking, isn't it amazing like how, like for me, right, this is what happens in every aspect of my life. Knowledge is given to me. Knowledge is not held a secret. But I'll be talking to one group who tells me one thing, and I know where it needs to fit in. And I know who has what. And it all falls into place. And when people say, what is a proof? I feel I don't need a proof.
Mhm.
And I went to Jinshin Jutsu, the people, Japanese people who taught it. I said, can I bring it to the next level? They said, no, they don't want me to steal their idea. I said, it's not about stealing. I'm going to add to your value.
Yeah.
They said, no.
They were
So
protected.
they kicked me out, meaning,
They're protected about it. They
yeah, because
learn
they
for
want to
themselves.
teach it only their way, but it's not
Yeah.
going to go to the next level, right? And then I am trying to get the group that I am doing with, like, to see, they wanted me to learn it another way. But this is not about leading. It's like about like showing them how it all like fits in.
Yeah.
With each one, the way I want to use it is once the knowledge is in, to take that and do microcurrent therapy because I know exactly how to fix it too. I have that knowledge too because you just need to do mud packs there. That's all. So you need to understand, like the way I understood it is with this knowledge, I was doing driving for my son. I had to drop him off, and because I was using my brake too much,
Okay.
the energy got stuck behind the knee. And through this, I understood where the congestion was, how to release it. But even though I released it, there was almost like an air bubble stuck, I felt. And in India, they call it vata. Vata means air.
Okay.
But in medicinal word, vata is foam cells that is floating, and it's because it's oxidized foam cells that becomes oxidative free radicals. The only way to correct it is by nicotinic acid.
Okay.
So I did mud pack, but it didn't go away. I could feel it, and it prevented me from doing squatting. And one of my goals is never ever to lose flexibility. I wanted to squat, and that prevented because the air bubble, the tendons were getting sore and stuff. So I had to do nicotinic acid cleanse, do local mud pack, regenerate my energy with PEMF, and do microcurrent therapy with this knowledge. Can you imagine, like, how can I teach that to people? Like, it's not about reading pulse. It's not about the, and I don't think people get it. So I feel sometimes very discouraged because the discouragement is because I try very hard to fit in, and I feel sometimes it doesn't work. Not necessarily because I'm not trying, but it's not meant to be because I know a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I don't want to come across fresh either.
Yeah. Because then they'll like.
So I have tried to fit into so many organizations, like everywhere. It's like a roadblock, roadblock, roadblock,
Yeah.
roadblock. But I know I have the answers, but Birdle is not ready. Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
But isn't that amazing? Like how it all fell into place.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the day.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve. and last week another thing happened. One of my patients here, she said to watch a saint called Osho. OSHO. She said he was prosecuted by Americans. They were trying to take him into prison or something he was doing something nice, but something like some he went into religious persecution for some reason for voicing something.
What's his name?
OSHO. He
Oh,
says he was the one who told about the serpent. He says whenever you say something is prohibited,
Hosho? Oh,
OSHO,
OS.
OSHO. He says drug is caused by government. He says when you say I prohibit you, he says people will use it. He says the whole forest nobody would find the tree. He says by saying I'm prohibiting, he says people found it because he says when he was young, he was in a place where they built a very beautiful temple, I think, and the temple had a long wall.
Yeah.
So he said he went and told the temple authority. He was young. He says to put in a sign because it looked like it has lots of privacy that people might pee and poo. He said put in a sign saying no peeing on the walls. Don't urinate on the walls. That's all they had to write. The minute they did it, it seems people used to line up to go pee there. And then the guy who is the owner, he went and told his father, "This your kid is dangerous. He caused me so much problem." So he goes and tries to problem solve, and he goes and sees the people who are lining up to pee, and he says, "Why are you guys doing this?" He says, "Until we saw the sign, never even occurred to us."
Yeah. And then they saw, and then they started doing it. That's because they could do. Yeah.
No, that's when it hits them. Oh, I can be here.
Yeah.
So like, so in urgency, like they kind of like it makes sense for them. So he says that's when he connected. So he says drug should never be a prohibition. He says by using prohibition, government is enforcing drug habits.
Yeah.
He says don't say yes or no. Just
Just leave it be.
Yeah, let the people figure it out.
Exactly.
But that's like radical. So when I was watching him, he was talking about Jesus. He says Jesus never died on the cross. He says to die on the cross sometimes takes 60 days or more. It was a conspiracy because the Roman, that guy, Pontius Pilate, was very, very guilt driven by what was happening to him. So he deliberately puts him on the cross Friday, very late in the evening. And the disciples of his were given permission to give him water in between.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave him some sort of anesthetic, he believes, that makes him pass out.
Yeah.
So when he passes out, they take him down because Sabbath is coming, and in sabbatical, it seems the whole Judaism goes into a shutdown mode. So only Monday they can address this. This is like being sectioned and you are in a hospital and you cannot get it Monday morning. So they say the way it is written is they bring aloe to the cave where his tomb is. He says that's not an embalming medicine. Aloe is actually healing medicine. Why did they bring aloe to the embalming place when actually it's a very different herb?
Yeah.
Which means they were healing his wound. So then his wound healed, and they took him on a pilgrimage over the weekend itself to go into Asia, and he reached India. And I was watching an Indian documentary, English in English. You go into Jesus documentary in Indian, in Indian Indian film documentary. They have this researcher who tracked them. They have his footprints with the marks of his nails where it disrupted his skin. So he still had wounds when he reached there. And they attended to his wounds. He became their messenger. He developed a way to teach because it seems from the age of 14 until 28, he was living in India and the Buddhists. The Buddhists were the one who tracked him. They knew he was a messenger. So the king in Kashmir gave him a place to preach further, and he preached, and the Buddhist has the scroll of his name. They called him Isa, Issa, and they have it in Sanskrit his name. And when the Buddhist was prosecuted, they took all their documents to Tibet, and they have writings of when they encountered him, how they tracked him, and he was doing teachings based on Buddhist religion, his own way of interpreting. He also incorporated because Muslim is the one that came and tore down everything. So he took, and it seems Judaism, some people escaped the prosecution of Roman, and his goal was to find those people. So he settled among the same people who left Judaism. And they said they don't follow any Indian culture. They kept to their tradition even now. And they say their language is different, their culture is different, and they don't allow their children to marry into Indian community.
Huh.
And they still preserve their native being race. It's amazing. Like, so it went from me from one section to another section to another section. And so they said he lived a long life. He was honored by two kings in first century AD, and they loved his wisdom. The kings came and they made a coin to honor him. So he has his own coin, the king made, and he lived up to 112 years, and they have a burial site for him. And oh, by the way, the researcher says he had his consort, Mary Magdalene.
Ah.
And then so they don't call him wife, consort. I don't know what it means. Consort means companion or wife. I don't know.
Maybe.
Huh?
Partner. Maybe.
Partner, but it looks like they didn't have sexual relationship because the king who made the coin offers a girl for him to marry, and he marries.
Okay.
He marries, and then they have a child. And the wife's name is Marjam, Marjem, and he has a child. The child's name is Elikim, Eliaim, and both of them are honored in the temple. His name Isa and Elikim. So he had descendants. So he has. So they are saying, U.S. government, their archaeologists are saying they want to get a DNA testing done.
That'd be cool.
But so it kept like this whole weekend, like, I went on a fascinating tour. And tomorrow, that's a culmination. I'm like saying, oh my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but like, isn't that weird?
It is
like,
weird.
In India, there is a saying, Matta Tata. Like he says there is, people say, this bald man fell into this pot. Like there's no connection. What is this? That's the way it feels like for me. Like I'm like saying, random. And I arrived. And tomorrow, the day I do it, so the spaces, so that full moon, I'll be a little more conscious because I get very energized.
Yeah.
And I'll be very artistic. I'll become very manic. So I'll get a lot of expressive ideas. And when I consciously do it, I create sweet memories in me. Like it almost looks like an anchoring point, like how you put a pin and hold the poster.
Yeah.
In my life, I can go back and say, March 26, 2018, I found the connections between Adam and Eve and the Indian version and Jesus. Like, it's like almost like, do you understand? It's like my quilt is coming into my mind quilt. So tomorrow, it'll be finale for me. 3/27/2018.
That's cool.
And thanks for listening. You are
No
so
problem.
patient.